Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the newest show here on TV. I'm Erica, your host for today here on Minutes Recap.
So now let's have the introduction of the novel Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre is a novel by English writer Charlotte Brontë. It was published in London, England in 1847 by Smith, Elder & Co. with the title Jane Eyre, an autobiography under the pen name Carol Bell. The first American edition was released the following year by Harper and Brothers of New York. The Penguin edition described it as an influential feminist text because of its in-depth exploration of a strong female character's feeling. The novel merges elements of three distinct genres. It has the form of a Bildungs roman, a story about a child's maturation, focusing on the emotions and experiences that accompany growth to adulthood. The novel also contains much social criticism, with a strong sense of morality at its core, and finally has the brooding and moody quality and ironic character typical of Gothic fiction. Jane Eyre is divided into 38 chapters, and most editions are at least 400 pages long, although the preface and introduction on certain copies are liable to take up another 100 or so. The original publication was in 3 volumes, comprising chapters 1 to 15, 16 to 26, and 27 to 38. This was a common publishing format during the 19th century. Let's have now the character list of Jane Eyre novel. So let's have first Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre is the protagonist and narrator of the novel. Jane is an intelligent, honest, plain featured young girl forced to contend with oppression, inequality, and hardship. Next is Edward Rochester, Jane's employer and the master of Thornfield. Rochester is a wealthy, passionate man with a dark secret that provides much of the novel's suspense. Next is St. John Rivers. Along with his sisters Mary and Diana, St. John serves as Jane's benefactor after she goes away from Thornfield, giving her food and shelter. Next is Mrs. Reed. Mrs. Reed is Jane's cruel aunt who raises her at Eastleigh home until Jane is sent away to school at the age of 10. Next is Bertha Mason. Bertha Mason is the Rochester's clandestine wife. Bertha Mason is a formerly beautiful and wealthy Creole woman who has become insane, violent, and bestial. Next is Alice Fairfax. Alice Fairfax is the housekeeper at Thornfield Home. She is the first to tell Jane that the mysterious laughter often heard echoing through the halls, in fact the laughter of Ray School, a lie that Rochester himself often repeats. Next is Helen Burns. Helen Burns is Jane's close friend at the Lowood School. She endures her miserable life there with a passive dignity that Jane cannot understand. Next is Mr. Bracklehurst, the cruel, hypocritical master of the Lowood School. Mr. Bracklehurst preaches the doctrine of privation while starting from the school to support his luxurious lifestyle. Next is Maria Temple. Maria Temple is a kind teacher at Lowood, who treats Jane and Helen with respect and compassion. Along with Bensie Lee, she serves as one of the Jane's first positive female role model. Next is Adele Barnes. Adele Barnes, Jane's pupil at Thornfield. Next is Blanche Ingram. Blanche Ingram is a beautiful socialite who despises Jane and hopes to marry Rochester for his money.
So, let's have the plot summary of the novel Jane Eyre. Jane Eyre is a first-person narrative of the title character. The novel goes through 5 distinct stages. Jane's childhood at Gateshead, where she is emotionally and physically abused by her aunt and cousins. Her education at Lowood School, where she acquires friends and role models, but also suffers privations and oppressions. her time as the governess of Thornfield Hall, where she falls in love with her Byronic employer, Edward Rochester. Her time with the Rivers family, during which her earnest but cold clergyman cousin, St. John Rivers, proposes to her, and the final with her reunion with and marriage to her beloved Rochester.
Now, let's have the conflict of the Jane Eyre novel. The conflict is Jane falls in love with her new employer, Mr. Rochester, but can act on her feeling because they are separated by rank and fortune. Well, really there are a lot of reasons she feels she can act on her feelings. She doesn't want to seem like she has ideas about her situation. And Rochester is pretending to be interested in the nasty, healthy Blanche Ingram. Now, let's have the resolution of the Jane Eyre novel. After Jane hears Rochester's call to her from across the hall, she returns to Thornfield and finds it burned to the ground. She learns that Bertha Mason set a fire and died in the flames. Rochester is now living at his home in Ferndale. Jane goes to him, there reveals her relationship with a somewhat humble Rochester, and marries him. She claims to enjoy perfect equality in her marriage. So now, let's have the key facts of the novel Jane Eyre. The full title is Jane Eyre. The author is Charlotte Bronte, originally published under the male pseudonym Currer Bell. It is the novel type of work. The genre is a hybrid three genres: the Gothic novel, the romance novel, and the Bildungsroman. The language is English. Time and place written 1847, London. Date of first publication is in the year of 1847. Setting, time, early decades of the 19th century. Setting place, the novel is structured around 5 separate locations, all supposedly in northern England: the Reed family's home at Gateshead, the Wretch Lowood School, Rochester's Manor House, Thornfield, the Rivers family home at Moor House, and Rochester's rural retreat at Ferndale. Now let's move on to the themes of the novel Jane Eyre. The first theme is morality. Jane refuses to become Mr. Rochester's paramour because of the impassioned self-respect and moral conviction. She rejects St. John Rivers' Puritanism as much as the libertine aspects of Mr. Rochester's character. Instead, she works out the morality expressed in love, independence, and forgiveness. Next theme is social class. Jane's ambiguous social position, a penniless yet moderately educated orphan from a good family, leads her to criticize discrimination based on class. Although she is educated, well-mannered, and relatively sophisticated, she is still a governess, a paid servant of low social standing, and therefore powerless. Next theme is gender relations. A particularly important theme in the novel is the depiction of patriarchal society. Jane attempts to assert her own identity within male-dominated society. 3 of the main male characters, Mr. Brocklehurst, Mr. Rochester, and St. John Rivers, try to keep Jane in a subordinate position and prevent from expressing her own thoughts and feelings. Next theme is love and passion. A central theme in Jane Eyre is that of the clash between conscience and passion. Which one is to adhere to, and how to find a middle ground between the two. Jane is truly passionate yet also dedicated to a close personal relationship with God, struggles between either extreme for much of the novel. Next theme is feminism. The role and standing of women in the Victorian era is constantly dedicated by Bronte throughout Jane Eyre, specifically in regard of Jane's independence and ability to make decisions to herself. Next theme is atonement and forgiveness. Much of the religious concern in Jane Eyre has to do with atonement and forgiveness. Mr. Rochester is tormented by awareness of his past sins and misdeeds. So now let's have the symbols of the novel Jane Eyre. The symbol spurs Bertha Mason. Bertha Mason's complex presence in Jane Eyre. She impedes Jane's happiness, but she also catalyzes the growth of Jane's self-understanding. The mystery surrounding Bertha establishes suspense and terror to the plot and the atmosphere. Further, Bertha serves as a remnant and reminder of Rochester's youthful libertinism. Next symbol is the red room. The red room can be viewed as a symbol of Jane must overcome in her struggle to find freedom, happiness, and a sense of belonging in the red room. Jane's position of exile and imprisonment first become clear. Although Jane is eventually freed and the room, she continues to be socially ostracized, financially trapped, and excluded from love. Her sense of independence and her freedom, self-expression are constantly threatened.
So, that's all for now. Again, I'm Erica. Thank you for watching. See you again next week here on Minutes Recap.